Peace, family. This is part one of Moorish American and Hebrew Israelite connection. So I'm going to make some connections here between the Moorish Americans and Hebrew Israelites. The connections I'm going to make are not through the connection of the organizations like the Moorish Science Temple come from, a Hebrew organization, nothing like that, but based on the doctrines, based on doctrine, right? So honors to everybody watching, and I want to give praise to Allah for making all this possible. Before I start, so in this video I'm going to make connections between the Moorish Americans and the Hebrews. So in my estimation, the Moorish movement and the Nation of Islam rose from African American Hebrew groups. So one of the earliest Hebrew Israelites in the United States was Prophet Saunders Crowdy, who established the Church of God and Saints of Christ in 1896. He was an earlier Hebrew Israelite. This William Saunders Crowdy, so you can look him up. Another one was William Christian, and William Christian founded the Church of the Living God in 1889. He was a former slave, and he believed that Jesus and many saints of the Bible were dark-hued people. It is said that his church was in some ways modeled on Freemasonry. So you can look him up too, William Christian. Both of these guys were dark-skinned Asiatics, and they were believed in the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. They believed that the so-called black Negroes and colors were descendants of the Hebrew or the Israelites, right? So and they both were actually former slaves. And the Prophet William Saunders Crowdy, he was ran away from his plantation, right? So in 1892, Prophet William Saunders claimed that he received a vision from God telling him to redeem Israel out of spiritual and mental bondage. It is said that all true prophets are called through divine revelation. So you notice they called him prophet too, just like Noble John Lee. So in Numbers chapter 12, verse 6, the Lord declares, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto them in a vision and will speak to them in a dream." So in the Old Testament, in Numbers, is letting you know that prophets are called through dreams. So, you know, people have visions and stuff like that. And I guess Prophet William Crowdy had a dream and a vision, which called him into action to start his church, based off of Hebrew philosophy, based off the Hebrew doctrine, right? So Prophet Williams was arrested 22 times while preaching on the streets. Major newspapers referred to him as the Black Elijah. He replied, "I am not Elijah, but I come in the spirit and in the power of Elijah." So not only did he excel in his religious endeavors, because he came and amassed a big membership, and a lot of preachers and different people was jealous of him too. But he also excelled in business as a businessman, industrialist, musician, Grand Master of Masons, and author. Prophet William Crowdy passed away in 1908 in Newark, New Jersey. That's key. He passed away in 1908 in Newark, New Jersey, right? I think he had a lot of land too. You can look him up, and I think his grandson. I think his grandson just passed away in April. So look him up. His church, it was called Church of God and Saints of Christ, and he started it in 1896. So he passed away in 1908 in Newark, New Jersey. 5 years later, after the death of Prophet William Crowdy in Newark, New Jersey, another prophet rose, proclaimed prophet rose, and established the Canaanite temple in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey. This proclaimed prophet was Noble John Lee. right? So you notice how he named his temple the Canaanite temple. So we'll get into that later, because the term Canaanite ties you right into the Hebrew, because the Canaanite are the creators of the Hebrew alphabet. Instead of Christianity or Judaism, Noble Drew Ali fostered the Muslim religion. Upon close examination, I found that the doctrine of Torah, the four Gospels, and the Quran are intrinsically linked. To show the four Gospels of Jesus is linked, or are linked, the Torah and linked. To show that the four Gospels of Jesus are linked to the Torah, in Matthew 5, verse 7, Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." This is in reference to the law given to the people by Moses. In Matthew 1, Jesus is called Son of David and the Son of Abraham. This links the Gospels to the Torah. See? Because Jesus said, "I didn't come to change nothing." Because Jesus was, it is said that Jesus was a Jew or Hebrew. And he was a Jew or Hebrew because they say he is the son of David, son of Abraham. Abraham was the first one to be called a Hebrew. From the descent of Abraham comes David. Later on, Jesus. So Jesus came under the same doctrine of those two. This is all, religious connections, by the way. I know a lot of people, some people don't like religion, some people not into it, but whatever, we're going to make these connections today, right? The Quran is linked with the Torah and the Gospels through Surah 2, verse 41. It is said, "And believe in what I have sent down," the Quran, "confirming that which is with you," the Torah and the Gospel. So the Quran is in the Quran, it is confirming that the Torah and the Gospels are the truth, and it's not coming to bring something new or abolish those two particular texts, New Testament and what's in the Old Testament, but it comes to enforce it and enforce the truth that's in it, and not the lies that maybe been watered down later within it. It is said that Noble Drew Ali was the first person to bring Islam to African Americans. Okay. Like Prophet Sanders and William Christian, Noble Drew Ali believed Jesus to be of dark-hued complexion, and all three men rejected traditional Christian beliefs coming from the Roman Catholic Church. So they reject the beliefs that was coming from the Roman Catholic Church, because the first church was in Africa. Coming from in Ethiopia and in Egypt. Prophet Sanders followed the tenets of Judaism, and like the Quran, Prophet Sanders believed Jesus to be a man and a teacher, a noteworthy prophet, a messenger of God, but not the Son of God. And to back that up, I have a surah from the Quran, chapter 113, verse 3, state this about God: He begets, nor was he begotten. Meaning he don't have children, and he wasn't birthed himself, meaning God, the Most High. And there is none co-equal or comparable to him. Like Jesus, Noble Drew Ali didn't come to bring anything new, but came to teach the doctrine of truth, which was passed down to them from their forefathers and on to us today. He put together a doctrine using literature outside the Bible and the Quran, but this doctrine he put together is still in divine harmony with the older doctrine of Islam and Judaism. So it's all connected, it's all in harmony. You just got to read and you'll find out that it's all in harmony. Noble Drew Ali stated that the religion of the Moorish Americans was Islamism, and he said that Islamism is the old-time religion. So I looked it up, and I found that African Americans had a song. So there's a song that was developed by African Americans in the 1800s called Old Time Religion. And some of the lyrics are, give me that old time religion. It was good for the Hebrew children. And now this is in reference to the Torah. So Islamism is linked to the Hebrew doctrine for a fact, which is the Old Testament. And if you read the Quran, it's going to keep referencing stories and things that's in the Torah to let you know there's links. So I don't know why people debate over these texts and which one is the truth and which one is not, and they're linked. It's connection. Everything is one. All things connected. One thing comes from the other, and then it's a succession, right? Before the spread of Islam, lots of our Moorish forefathers followed the Hebrew religion in the Gospels of Jesus. They seen that Islam was the truth, confirming what was in the Gospels and the Torah, and lots of them accepted Islam. For a fact, Islam unified Africa and Arabia at a time when Africa was being oppressed by the savage Visigoths. Let's go into Noble Drew Ali's doctrine for a bit, right? Noble Drew Ali stated that the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Check out my videos on the ancient Arabian Cushites. Check out my videos on the mystery of ancient America and Atlantis, and it'll bring all this together, right? So this statement takes us back to the Hebrew Bible. He stated that Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. The land of Canaan is mentioned in Genesis 2, verse 13, in which the Gihon River goes around the land of Cush. So now the land of Cush that's talked about, that is spoken about in the Bible, is actually in Asia, talking about Arabia, and it goes into Africa. From Arabia, it goes into India, and it goes into Africa. Because we're talking about the ancient Kushite Empire. Read the book, Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire. Noble Drew Ali placed the Garden of Eden in Arabia, which is also, he placed the Garden of Eden in Canaan, and he placed Arabia in the land of Canaan, in the Moorish American doctrine, right? When Noble Drew Ali stated that Cush and his family left the land of Canaan and went into Africa, it meant that the Cushites left Asia and moved into Africa, then settled. So according to the Moorish American doctrine, which was put together by Noble Drew Ali, the Cushites are Canaanites. And they are from the land of Canaan, and the family spread east, west, north, and south. German anatomist and a Charles Darwin supporter, Ernest Haeckel, believed humans had arisen from a primate ancestor in South Asia or Africa, which shows that some scientists suspect humans may have arisen in Asia. Because you got some scientists that say Asia, some scientists that say Africa, some scientists say either or. One or the other, because East Africa and Arabia are very close. The Red Sea is the only thing that separates them. They're very, very, very close. So, right? Jonathan Tubb, in his book, Canaanites, People of the Past, stated that the Israelites were themselves Canaanites. I gotta keep checking this time. The Israelites were themselves Canaanites historically, as opposed to just literary. Israel was, in reality, a subset of Canaanite culture. So if you go into the Bible, you'll see the same. You'll see the same thing. You'll see that the Israelites lived in Canaan, and then later on, from what Joseph was sold by his own brothers into slavery, they ended up in Egypt. So Joseph ended up in Egypt, and later on, he got a little power in Egypt, and he was able to bring his family, Jacob and the rest of their family, which was about 70 of them, into Egypt, and they grew from there, right? But originally they was from Canaan. So Noble Drew Ali stated that the Moabites from the land of Moab were the founders of the Moroccan Empire in northwest Africa. Jonathan Tubbs stated that Moabites were ethnically Canaanites. The Moabites come from Moab, who was the son of Lot, and Lot is the nephew of Abraham, which shows that the Moabites are related to the Israelites. So you see, the Moabites biblically are connected to the Israelites through Abraham. So Abraham migrated from Mesopotamia and dwelt in the land of Canaan, and fathered Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac later fathered Jacob, who had 12 sons. In Genesis 35, verse 10, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And this is where you get the name Israel, the Israelites and the 12 tribes of Israel. So see, that land that the Israelites or the Jacob 12 sons were born wasn't called Israel. It was called Canaan, or the land of Canaan. The term Hebrew first arose in Genesis 14, verse 13, where Abraham was called Abram the Hebrew. Hebrew is a member of the Canaanite group of Semitic languages. So the Hebrew is a language now, today as we know Hebrew, and it came from the Canaanites. Who Noble Drew Ali said, all Africans are descendants of the ancient Canaanites. Now we talk about Canaanites, we talking about ancient indigenous culture in around the ancient Levant or the ancient land of Israel, and I'm gonna include Arabia because Noble Drew Ali included Arabia. Because if you check my video on the ancient Arabian Cushites, you'll find out that modern historians don't know the full extent of the land of Canaan. They only can use modern jurisdiction to try to piece it together, but according to Noble Drew Ali, it included Arabia too. So the term Jew is used, you won't find the term Jew in the Bible. You'll find Hebrew, you'll find Israelite, you'll find Israel, which comes from Jacob. So the term Jew is used to signify a member of the tribe of Judah, or the king of Judah, kingdom of Judah. The term Jew also represents a follower of Judaism with the Torah as their foundational text. So like I said, I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because it's some other text that I have to that I'm waiting to come, and I'm gonna piece it together. And I want to talk about the other Hebrew movements that came later. After Noble Drew Ali set up the old Canaanite temple in 1913, you had Prophet William Crowdy. What was that? 1896. 1896. So these are the earlier Hebrew connections. So the Moorish Americans and these Hebrew Israelites, they can come together on doctrine. It can be done. You see, they can build. It's just that it's a lot of ignorance out here. A lot of ignorance and a lot of misinterpretations. Because I sit and watch a video and I see people, I see some master Hebrew Israelites. I got to get this one name, but I think Sadnetta had interviewed this guy like a couple years ago, because I see the videos from 2014, and this brother, he said he was a Moorish Hebrew, and he sat at the table. He had the books. He had the book from Timbuktu to from Babylon to Timbuktu. He had several books, and he knew his stuff. He was a lot different from most of those Hebrew Israelites that be on the corner yelling and stuff, that think if everybody not like them, then, you know, they're not going to be saved, or they're somehow different. When the earlier Hebrews, like Arnold Ford, Josiah Arnold Ford, that's why I want to do a part 2, so I can add in all these people, add in Marcus Garvey, add in Rabbi Matthews and all this stuff. So I'm going to end the video because I know people got things to do. I know you got things to do. You can't be watching the video for a whole hour. So I'm going to keep this short. I hope you enjoyed the video. Analyze the connections, research the things I have mentioned, and you know, subscribe, leave your comments, leave likes, no dislikes. But if you dislike, then, you know, I accept it. I know I can't please everybody, but like, share, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. And with that, I'll say peace.